It appears we have met the Vreedles for the last time.
Don't count on it.
The Vreedles aren't anyone's favorite characters. It wouldn't be incorrect to say they're widely disliked either. I've certainly never been eager to watch an episode where they're featured prominently. But over the years, I've recognized that there's this unexplained charm to them that makes me intrigued, especially with how much their lore gets expanded. They started off as what we'd assume would be one-off antagonists, and by the end of the series, we meet their mom, their dad, their extended family, watch them rise as heroes but fall back to villainy, have seen them die multiple times, and now have a close connection with Sandra. How did we get this far? They don't entirely cross the threshold of favorable characters. They're simply too annoying at times. But hey, I don't hate them, and they remarkably grow on you after a while. They're very much within the nature of characters that rely too heavily on their gags, but I don't mind having them around, though Pax and Hookstar can go fuck themselves. Ben and Rook just so happen to catch the Vreedles robbing the museum, and of course, effortlessly defeat them. After being called a failure by their mother, the dim-witted duo plan to steal one of the pretty boys and mold them into their new partner in crime. This prompts Ma Vreedle to use the plumbers to track down her missing child, or else she'll blow up the sun. Meanwhile, Ben's mom is on a passive mission to deliver Ben his leftovers, and ends up being essential to defeating Ma by relating to her as a mother.
It ain't easy being a mother.
Hardest job in the world.
This episode is certainly written around the jokes rather than letting the plot drive us forward, but given the plot isn't all that special, this is a case where the jokes should take the lead. Problem is, the jokes aren't that great either. I mean, they're fine, but they're more amusing than laugh out loud funny.
You got all that from Boom Boom?
Well, that, and I found this receipt for it stuck to Pretty Boy's lollipop.
There's a lot of things that frustrate me about this story, like how the plumbers are so easily willing to help Ma because
we are obliged to provide assistance to any resident of the host planet who directly requests it.
Yet they're just gonna let her breaking in and attacking everyone slide? That's grounds to arrest her right there. And then even after they're willing to help her, she threatens to blow up the sun anyways? Girl, they were already on your side. Why you gotta do them like this? There's also a lot of standing around and watching things happen. It makes everyone seem incompetent. And I hate that Ben completely disregards his own children here.
I'm gonna take your son.
I don't have a son.
Which is wild because the last time he brought them up was to Ma Vreedle herself, so this extra doesn't make any sense.
I'm a mother too.
Where are your kids?
I don't know, in deep space somewhere.
Guest writer or not, this was a big fumble. I like that Ben uses his cell phone to talk to his mom, but his Omnitrix to talk to Magister Patellidae. It's like a work phone, home phone situation. Though, just like the last time this happened with Wrath, which coincidentally also happened in front of the museum, it makes no sense how Ben just has his phone on him in alien form. And did he just pull that out from his belt strap? Twice? How does that work? We see the Vreedles die yet again, but this time we actually get to see their cloning machine, which is a cool lore expansion. And the pretty boys growing up was an effective way to evolve their characters and make them more interesting. After a soft reintroduction in Ben again while temporarily stuck in the past, Ben finally uses Ditto in the present day once again. A big win for the Ditto fans. I'm also 99% sure they used the screaming goat sound effect for Magister Arnix right here. But how does everyone keep easily breaking into this place? Didn't they just update their security in the last episode? The voice directing felt a little off in this one too. Some of these line deliveries just don't match the scene at all.
My boys mean everything to me.
It was an accident. They blew themselves up.
I loved that Ben's mom returned for this episode. Ever since they discovered his identity, I always wished her and Carl appeared more, even if it was only for smaller roles. And it was smart to use her to parallel Ma Vreedle, giving two perspectives on motherhood.
Dinner's coming.
Dinner's just about ready.
It's crazy that Ben doesn't like her cooking either, despite getting freaky with those lamb and sardine smoothies. And she looks great, by the way. And she's cool with Rook. Like, why is she not in more episodes?
Nobody messes with my boy.
Oh, that's hot.
Hell, we don't even see his dad in Omniverse at all. And where the fuck is his dog? The Vreedles don't feel as sharply written this time around, but they still work. Ma Vreedle's Omniverse design is a massive improvement over the previous series. And giving her and all the pretty boys the same color scheme as the main Vreedles is miles better than their other color palette. I do think her backwards eyes looked better hidden behind her hair rather than coming out of her hat, but for the sake of her new design, it's understandable why they made this change. I still don't care for Ditto's Omniverse design, but I can't ignore the tremendous love that most fans have for it, so I have to acknowledge that it's effective. The museum's still across from the cinema, which is fantastic geographical continuity, and it was really cool to actually see their cloning machine this time, along with their hideout down below. Now that it's been a few seasons, we don't really get new Undertown locations anymore, so this was a surprise. In fact, all of the backgrounds were great in this episode. Ben's house, the train station, we even got this 3D render of Undertown just for the Vreedles to casually stroll through. Sometimes they forget to add the glow for Ditto's cloning effect, but I don't mind. I don't care for the glow anyways. anyways. But the character design and props in this episode was top notch, and the animation was fairly solid. And look at this thing's neat. There's really nothing here that makes this episode a must-see on your binge list. Usually I try to find ways to throw an episode a bone for this category, even if it's just community relevance, but there's honestly nothing here.
Wait, it's a dud?
Sorry, Ma. The older I get, the more I'm seeing the vision for the Vreedles as characters, and it makes me appreciate them a lot more, and on some level, even enjoy them. But back in the day when I was the target audience, I couldn't stand them. An opinion most of us shared as well, and I feel like that's more important. A good character should win you over at face value, not after over a decade of hindsight. Ma Vreedle is like a cold beer, an acquired taste. But also like a cold beer, I wouldn't give it to my son just because I enjoy it. This episode is all of Omniverse's goofy glory, but without a solid plot to hold it together, so it falls apart pretty quickly. Another pass probably could have saved this story, as I really wanted to like it, but it's just not good.
That there's what you might call an unforeseen turn of events.
Big thanks to Andrew Analik and Elizabeth Susan for supporting the channel in the ink cartridge tier. We really appreciate your contributions to developing more ink tank projects.